Hi everyone, it's Dr. Trout here, and I'm going to try a different pedagogical tool. It's called a screencast, and what I'd like to do in this short screencast is illustrate the elements of a double period. Now we know from earlier that a standard period consists of a pair of phrases, usually 4 bars each, and those two phrases form what's called the antecedent-consequent relationship, where the antecedent sets up an idea and typically ends with a half cadence, and then the consequent phrase concludes the idea and ends with a stronger cadence, usually a PAC. And a double period is very related to that, but is slightly different. So I have an example here for you from Beethoven's Opus 119. This is a set of bagatelles. This is the theme, the opening of the theme from that set of bagatelles, and it's actually in the score folder of D2L. It's not in the score packet that you've been using, but it's in the score folder. And you can see that it's in G minor and is 16 measures long. And as we listen to it, what I'd like you to notice is that while it's obviously twice as long as a standard 8-bar period, it does still divide into two large units that form the same antecedent-consequent relationship. And you should hear that it also consists of 4 phrases, and each of those phrases has a cadence at the end, so it has 4 cadences instead of just 2. So let's go ahead and take a listen, and then I'll speak a little bit more. Okay, having listened to it just once, what I hope you heard was the 4 phrases that I mentioned. The first one of which, of course, goes from the beginning to measure 4 and ends with this half cadence. And then another that goes to measure 8 and ends with another slightly stronger half cadence. And then, of course, another phrase begins here in measure 9, and it begins with the same tune. Notice that it has the same melodic content as what we heard at the beginning and leads to this half cadence here that matches the one we heard back at measure 4. And then a final phrase that brings us to measure 16 and ends with a very strong, perfect, authentic cadence that closes off this 16-bar musical unit. So we have these 4 phrases of music. Each phrase has a cadence at the end. But in reality, because of the relative strength of the cadence here in measure 8 and then the other cadence here at measure 16, and also because we hear the same music at the beginning and then that same music comes back after this half cadence, what we actually hear is 2 8-bar musical units, measures 1 through 8 and then measures 9 through 16. And it's those 2 musical units that form the antecedent-consequent that makes this type of period. So we have all this music running from measures 1 through 8, leading to this half cadence. That's the antecedent phrase. And then this music from 9 through 16 is the consequent phrase. So the big difference between a double period and a standard period is that both have the antecedent and consequent, but in this case the antecedent is 8 measures itself, and then the consequent is also 8 measures, whereby in a standard period, of course, it's typically 4 plus 4. Also, there's a difference in the number of cadences, of course, right? A standard period just has the 2 cadences at the end of each of the 2 phrases, but here we have 1, 2, 3, 4 cadences that help to form the double period structure. So essentially it's still antecedent consequent, but there's simply twice as much of everything. There are twice as many phrases, twice as many cadences, and twice as many measures, but it still is a type of period. It's simply a double period rather than a standard period. Thanks for listening, and